Hello everyone. I want to make a video today on how we got to where we are as a society and a little bit about the paradigm upon which I build my teachings, my understanding of the world. So you get a bit of a better idea of why I teach what I teach, which I think is very important. So to understand where I'm coming from when I talk about things and to understand how we got to where we are as a society, we need to return to time before time and what happened from beginning of time in our universe to where we are now. And so what Ayurveda teaches and what can be found in one form or another in a lot of other mystical traditions is this understanding that at the beginning of time, even in science, there was nothing but just pure potential energy, pure potentiality. So I'm going to draw to make this easier. So I'm just going to draw this as a little, a little spat. Very, very condensed potential energy, but nothing culminating from it. And then what happened was that this energy transformed into matter, really. And what happened was creation. And from this single source, the single point, our entire universe was formed. And so what happened first was, obviously a huge mess. But eventually what we got to was, the sun and the moon and the planets. And then amongst those was our planet Earth. And then if you look now at our planet, what happened was that eventually there were mountains and the seas, the oceans that were formed. And, long time after, eventually we got to some first algae and then plants. And then even further down the timeline, we get some animals. And then way after this, we eventually get to our humans. And I'm gonna draw 3 for the purpose of later explanations. So in every mystical tradition, including philosophies that underlie also Ayurveda, there is this understanding that all of the universe was created from the same source, and that the creation was driven by desire to create life. And what still underlies all of the creation is this beautiful, potent life force that drives evolution and that gives life to every single living being on this planet. There is something else that comes with this understanding. And many of you, if you've been interested to any more like even new agey stuff, you have definitely heard the phrase, everything is connected. And really where this comes from is this very thing we're looking at. If everything was created from the same source, what it means is that the sun, the moon, the planets, mountains, seas, plants, animals, even humans are all just different manifestations of the same life force. The same life force and energy. Some will call it God, some will call it universal consciousness, spirit, you name it, is underlying and giving life to everything here. What this means is that through this life force, through this universal consciousness, everything is indeed connected. And so the way we can draw this is a little bit like a web. And you may have heard even of something like the web of consciousness. And really what consciousness means here is just this intelligence that created life. If you look at any system, you will see there's insane intelligence underlying it. If you ever cut yourself, you will see that the wound heals without you having to do anything, right? You see this intelligence in stuff sprouting, life developing from a seed, a tree comes, and you don't have to instruct anything. most of the stuff that's happening in your body, you don't have to think about it. There is this natural intelligence that comes with life, that knows how to operate, that knows how to direct you towards thrive. Now, this connection, of course, exists between humans and nature, everything in nature, but of course also between individual human beings. Everything on this planet is connected with this same web of consciousness. Now, to me, this is really important to understand, because I believe that by looking at this one single common denominator, our interconnectedness with everything around us, we can begin to understand how we came to the point at where we are today. And what I mean by the point where we're at today is multifaceted, but really what we're seeing is that humans are suffering. There's a lot of mental health problems, anxiety, depression, they're on the rise. Autoimmune disorders are on the rise. Obesity has never been higher. It's the first time in history where more people are dying from being overweight than underweight. Wow. Cancer, diabetes, just chronic inflammatory disorders, which is what all of these really are killing right now 3 in 5 people in the Western society. Science is predicting that this is going to grow exponentially over the next 30 years or so. So what we're seeing as a just kind of grand total, humans are sick and they're miserable. Like in the lifetime where we have all the opportunities and where you would imagine we would be happier than ever, more successful than ever, more fulfilled than ever, this is certainly not the case. Simultaneously, our ecosystems are also sick and probably miserable, just like we are. We can see what is happening with the ice in the north melting, the sea level rising, right? Coral reefs dying, pollution that we see everywhere. And right now, acutely, just this very summer, or rather, let's look at this year, crazy winter in southern parts of the United States, like Texas. Right now, insane temperatures in Canada, in Death Valley, unprecedented 54 degrees Celsius, like what the hell? Floods in Central Europe, deadly floods, right? Like we haven't seen in ages. The number of hurricanes increasing massively in the equatorial regions, let's say Florida. Things are bad. Things are really bad. And we should probably do something about it if we don't want to go extinct. It's kind of where we're at. So I really believe that it all comes back to our understanding, or rather lack thereof, of this connection. And I want to speak to 2 possible cases. Case number 1, human beings understand and are not just mentally, but viscerally, deeply aware of this connection to the greater universe. Case number 2, we're not. So let's look at what happens in each of those cases to an individual and to the greater whole. Whether or not we're aware of this connection will inform our choices and the actions we take towards ourselves and the rest of our planet. So, number 1, let's look at a human being who is aware of this connection. A human being that is aware that he or she is connected to the larger universe, and really importantly, that he or she is a creation of this sacred life force, will understand the following. That person, themselves, they're sacred. Their body is sacred as a culmination of this intelligence that created life. And so is everything else. As such, they will also humans aware of that will also understand that because they're connected to everything else, Every single action they take will affect, through this web, everything else. It's like a spider on a web. If you've ever seen a spider can sense all of the vibrations on this web, can sense when something's happening on the other side and respond to it, and can even use these vibrations to attract prey into the web. Just like that, if you want, every single action you do carries a vibration, carries energy, and sometimes it's a lot more tangible than that, right? And this affects your surroundings in the universe, everything that's in it, not just you, not just the person next to you. It affects the matrix, the energetic, life force-based matrix connecting everything. When a human being understands that, there are two things that happen. First of all, that human being will feel incredibly supported. They will feel loved because they will understand that as a part of this matrix of life and love, everything in the universe is trying to work towards them thriving. Life wants to thrive. That's why it constantly keeps looking for new solutions to adapt to existing problems and overcome them. When a human being is supported in this way, they will feel calm. Their nervous system will feel calm, which means they will not be making choices based on fear, alienation, isolation, but rather on the feeling of support and belonging, love, and care. Now, this applies to taking care of oneself as well as the environment. A person who understands that their body is sacred, their mind is sacred, their emotions are sacred, that they are in essence spirit coming from this universe, connected to everything else, will take actions that will be aligned towards promoting the highest level of thrive. That person will make sure they nourish their bodies in an appropriate way, with quality foods, with plenty of rest when needed, with giving themselves space to process emotions and not fill all the time with, numbing activities such as substance abuse, constantly being on TV, scrolling. They will be able to not only tolerate but enjoy silence because they will be at peace with who they actually are. Now, a person that I just described, what kind of actions and what kind of choices do you think they will be making with respect to the environment? A person who understands that as they help, as they do something good for a fellow human or for the environment, that comes back to them. When they understand as you help greater whole, you help yourself. That there is no individual thrive without the thrive of the collective. Do you think they will put toxic chemicals in the plants in their environment? Do you think they will be putting plastic into the oceans? Do you think they will be making choices that will harm their environment, fellow human beings? Do you think they will accumulate resources only for themselves, rather than one to share with others? Wild speculation, but I think the answer is no. So now imagine a world with 8 billion people that are aware of this connection. I think it'd be pretty wonderful. But now, I think we can also get very real with the fact that we probably wouldn't end up where we are if this was the case. And so this now prompts us to look at the number 2 case, where what happens is that people forget about this connection. And this connection is not gone. It can be, right? We will always be part of this greater life force. That's who we are. We can't change that. But we can forget about it. And so there's a couple of things that happen when a person forgets about that. Because what that means is we forget, first of all, that we are sacred. We forget that we matter. That we wouldn't be here if we didn't matter. And that we also are worthy of love and belonging just because the fact that we are here. We don't have to prove ourselves. We don't have to engage in self-destructive behaviors to prove that we're worthy. So a person who is disconnected, though, they will not feel supported. They will feel a lot of the times lonely and isolated, which are some of the hallmarks of depression a lot of the time. They will feel like no one cares or that nothing matters. On the other side of the spectrum, we have anxiety, which is again a lack of connectedness and support, but manifesting and feeling like we're constantly afraid, we're constantly panicking. Oh no, we're not supported. The universe doesn't take care of us. There isn't like 5,000 plants growing in our backyard that we can have to eat. It's actually the same root cause of the problem when you look at it from that perspective. A person like that will not feel connected to the fact that their body is sacred technology, which means they will feed it foods that actually destroy it, sometimes completely knowingly. They will not give it maybe exercise or rest or time in nature that it terribly needs. They will oftentimes just keep going and overworking to try and prove themselves that they are worthy because they don't feel their intrinsic connection to life. Now, a person who is isolated, disconnected, miserable, anxious, lonely, overwhelmed, stressed out, sick, overfed, goes on and on and on and on. What are the choices that they are going to be making towards the environment? And there may be people out there that really want to make the right choices. They want to contribute with their lives towards greater thrive, but they simply, because of all these things, don't have the energy to do so. And then there will be other people that are so disconnected that they will not even realize that as they're hurting the environment, as they're hurting fellow people, they're hurting themselves. And as they're hurting themselves, they're hurting everyone else. Because it can't be any other way with this matrix. And I do deeply believe that this is the reason behind what we're seeing today. When people destroy the environment to grab more resources themselves. Because they don't understand. They don't feel that actually no one can thrive if the whole doesn't. And this is clearly seen from so many stats that we have with the show that money does not equal happiness, like at all. Actually, it can go quite the opposite. So the real question right now is, what do we do, right? We can get super deeply depressed just looking at it and be like, oh my God, like there's no way this could work out. Like we're so deep in, and we're pretty deep in. Like I'm not gonna lie here, but I do believe there's definitely still hope to get out of this. And I spend a lot of time thinking about how are we gonna get there? How do we do this? And there are in general two main approaches that I see. One is the top-down approach, where we ask our leaders, our government, people who are responsible for making really big and important decisions to sometimes force others to start behaving differently and start adopting practices that will help the environment. I think that's necessary. However, I see a big problem in that. And there are two major things. Number one, first, you gotta get the right people elected, which means you need people that are casting the votes who are gonna cast the votes for the people who want to make these changes. This could be difficult enough. But even if you get that, what percentage of those people who are up there, who are making those decisions, are connected? How many of those people feel supported enough, live in big enough integrity with themselves that they will not be corrupted? Because it's much easier to be corrupted when you don't feel supported. Because you believe that grabbing more resources will actually make your life better. If you feel supported, you understand you don't need more money. Like, this is not going to make you happier at all. It's much harder to corrupt people who are connected like that. So this is where I think are the major problems. So I'm much more of a proponent of a bottom-up approach, which may be overall slower, but I think a lot more efficient. And this is that we start with the individuals. And I have a specific way of doing that. And the way I do this is that I lead a course where we work for a whole year on adopting 10 habits, automating 10 very powerful habits that are designed to reconnect an individual with themselves and with the environment. We work on you reconnecting with your body, reconnecting with your emotions, reconnecting with your mind, but also reconnecting deeply with the ecosystem, with the plants growing in your environment. We reconnect you again with the wilderness of your body, choosing like, this is what I want to eat, this is what is going to nourish me, this is good for me, this is bad for me. We go on a super individual level as well, because everybody's different. And as a part of that, what is phenomenal, we're building a community. We're building a community of people who have these same values, to take care of themselves, to feel better in their bodies, to experience more emotional stability, to experience more positive emotions, to have better thoughts, and from that, to make better choices for themselves, and to become progressively more interested in how we can give from that place of support and feeling nourished and whole. Because that's the only place we can give from. You can't give from a place of feeling empty and a place of scarcity and a place of not being enough. What are you going to give from there? So if you're interested in joining our community, what I invite you is that you go on the link in the comments, and it's going to send you directly to the course page. And what you can do is that at the bottom you can click on the button and you can book a one-on-one conversation with me directly. And we're going to talk, we're going to talk about where you're at, where are your desires for yourself, and why do you want to make a change? And maybe see, hey, can we get you there together? Can we provide support, community, and guidance so you can step into the new, better, greater version of yourself to positively impact your life of those around you, and our greater community, our planet. And so if you're interested in that, get on that page, click on that button, book yourself for a conversation, and otherwise, follow Responsible Evolution Project. Join the conversation, become interested in how can you get more connected and contribute to our collective evolution in that way. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you for considering being a part of the solution, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.